Today, we're talking about Tatiana Schlossberg, an incredible environmental journalist, and yes, the granddaughter of President John F. Kennedy. It's a story about a life that was so full of purpose, a truly devastating illness, and the impossible weight of being part of one of America's most famous families.
I want to start with her own words, because they're just so powerful. She wrote this in a moving essay just a month before she passed away. And what's so gut-wrenching about it is her pain isn't for herself. It's for her mother, Carolyn Kennedy, and the new tragedy she felt she was causing.
So that essay, it was the first time any of us knew she was sick. It really framed the end of her life with the same kind of raw honesty that you saw in all of her work as a journalist. And to really understand who she was, we have to start there, with her professional legacy. Because, you see, long before her illness became the story, Tatiana Schlossberg had built this powerful identity completely on her own terms. She was a major voice in environmental journalism, and she had this amazing talent for making really complex stuff feel understandable to everyone. When she was a climate reporter for the New York Times, she really carved out her own style. She wasn't there to lecture people or paint some scary apocalyptic picture. No, her whole thing was about explaining, about digging into the how and why of climate change so we could see the way it quietly becomes a part of our everyday lives. And she took that whole approach and poured it into her fantastic 2019 book, Inconspicuous Consumption. She broke down these four huge areas: our digital lives and technology, the wild world of fast fashion, the food we eat, and the fuel that powers everything. She connected all these invisible dots right back to our own choices.
And people really responded to it. The book won the prestigious Rachel Carson Environment Book Award in 2020. I love what the judges said, that her work gave people solace, humor, and a route to feeling empowered. She wasn't just dumping problems on you, she was actually showing you a way forward.
But while her work was busy empowering so many people, her own life was about to take a sudden, absolutely devastating turn. So now, we're going to get into the science of the illness she was up against, a disease called AML. The way she found out, it's just unbelievable. She felt totally healthy. I mean, she swam a mile the day before giving birth to her daughter. But then a routine blood test at the hospital came back with a white cell count that she said was off the charts. Just hours later, doctors were telling her they thought it was cancer.
The official diagnosis was acute myeloid leukemia, or AML. So what is that? It's a cancer of the blood and bone marrow. And to put it simply, the cells that are supposed to grow into healthy red blood cells, they go wrong. They become malignant and just start multiplying like crazy, crowding out all the good cells your body needs.
And to really get how serious this diagnosis is, all you need to see is this one number, 32%. That's the 5-year survival rate for AML. It is an incredibly aggressive disease.
Okay, so what is actually happening on a molecular level? This diagram here looks super complex, I know, but it really boils down to a kind of 4-step chain reaction.
Let's walk through it. It usually starts with a mutation in a couple of key genes. Think of that as the first domino. Then, another gene kind of acts like a gas pedal, getting overproduced and setting off this chain reaction. That reaction flips a switch on pathways that basically scream at the cells to grow, grow, grow. And that last stage, well, that's when the malignant cells start to completely take over.
But all that cold, hard science doesn't capture the human side of it, does it? This quote from Tatiana, it just perfectly sums up the shock. One minute, you are literally one of the healthiest people you know, and the next, you're in a fight for your life. It's this moment that just splits your life in two, the before and the after.
And for Tatiana Schlossberg, this deeply personal crisis was happening against this enormous, inescapable backdrop, the long, tragic history of her own family.
You've probably heard the term before, right? The Kennedy curse? It's the phrase people use to talk about this unbelievable series of tragedies, assassinations, accidents, sudden deaths, that has followed the family for generations. It's created this public narrative of almost fated misfortune.
And when you look at the timeline, the pattern is just staggering. From her great-uncle Joe Jr. dying in World War II, to the assassination of her own grandfather, President Kennedy, then her great-uncle Robert Kennedy, and then the plane crash that killed her uncle, JFK Jr. So for a lot of people, Tatiana's death at just 35 feels like another heartbreaking chapter in that same story.
And look, this isn't just some idea the media cooked up. This is a quote from her great-uncle, Senator Ted Kennedy, right after the Chappaquiddick incident back in 1969. He himself wondered about it out loud. So this idea of a curse is something that has been felt from inside the family, too.
And all of this brings us to what is maybe the most moving part of her story, this incredible echo of memory and legacy, and how it gets passed down through generations of women in her family.
You know, in the middle of all the science and the weight of all that history, Tatiana's focus in her last essay was laser sharp and so personal. Her biggest fear, her greatest worry, was that her son and her newborn daughter would grow up without really remembering her.
And this is where the story comes full circle in this just unbelievable, tragic way. Back in 1963, after JFK was assassinated, Jackie Kennedy made it her mission to make sure her kids, Caroline and John Jr., would always know who their father was. Now, more than 60 years later, her own daughter Caroline has to do the exact same heartbreaking job, keep her daughter's memory alive for the next generation.
A family friend told People magazine that Caroline actually learned how to do this from her own mother, that she has a playbook for it. And that determination, that promise to make sure Tatiana's kids remember her, well, as the friend said, that's a gift.
And that really leaves us with this final thought, doesn't it? For a family whose story is so public, whose losses are literally a part of American history, maybe the most important work of all happens in private. A grandmother telling her grandchildren stories about the mother they barely got to know, how they keep that private memory